Hello, everyone. Welcome back. And hopefully you are now feeling 100% present in your body, or as close to 100% present as possible, so that we can go through this beautiful work together, the Hey Shoo WOW Shero's Journey, or Hero's Journey, whatever you would like to call it. So first of all, what is the Hero's Journey? Have any of you ever heard of the Hero's Journey, or is this brand new to you? It is something that Joseph Campbell really identified. There have been many people who've identified it, Carl Jung as well, and many other people before. But Joseph Campbell was the one in his book, The Hero with 1,000 Faces, who spoke about the 12 stages of the hero's journey. And we're going to go through those 12 stages today and have a look and see where you possibly might be. But before we get to there, we want to first see how the hero's journey relates to us. So how would the hero's journey relate to you or to me? And I'm going to take you through how the hero's journey has related to me in my life, just to give you an idea, and that will help you come up with ideas of what hero's journey you are on right now, and perhaps you can work together with me on that hero's journey as we play in Hey Shoo WOW. So first of all, the first concept to understand is that you are the hero or Shero or heroine, or whatever you want to call it, of your own story. You came here with a purpose, and you were placed on this earth with a purpose. There is meaning to your life. And when you see yourself as the hero or Shero of your story, it can put a completely different spin on your life and make you feel very differently about your challenges that you could be experiencing in your life at any time. So here are the kinds of challenges that people go through in their lives. And I'll tell you a few that I've gone through in my own life, in my own Shero's journey. So just to let you know that you could be going through multiple heroes or Shero's journeys in a lifetime. And you could even be going through more than one journey at one time, which certainly is what happened to me at one stage of my life. So just recognize that you may be in one now, but you may have completed another, or be right at the end of another, or this isn't necessarily linear. So let me give you examples so that you understand what I mean. So you could, for example, have a personal Shero's journey where you are coming of age, or you're going through a quarter life crisis, a midlife crisis, or a three-quarter life crisis at 25, 50, 75, or somewhere around those ages. You might be going through the journey of self-acceptance. And for some people, that is a lifelong journey. They are not accepting themselves right out the gate. You know, we're born accepting ourselves, and then somehow we fall from grace or forget who we really are, and then we have to grab it all back over the years, because possibly we've had a really difficult childhood, and we've gone through hard things. And then travel could be another amazing Shero's journey. I have friends who are currently traveling at the moment around South Africa, where we live. They were living in Cape Town, and now they have no home. They are digital nomads, or nomads, really. The husband has businesses here in Cape Town, so he's back and forth a lot, just, connecting with these businesses when he needs to be. But they are out playing. The children are homeschooling, and they're having the most incredible adventures. We actually spent yesterday in Hermanus with them, which is a town about an hour and a half away from Cape Town. And we just played with them and just shared a tiny little part of their adventure. But I also have noticed a lot of families nowadays, not just youngsters in their 20s, but actual whole families, parents, children. I've even met ones with dogs that are traveling around the world as digital nomads. And it's absolutely incredible what people can do in terms of travel nowadays. That's an amazing Shero's journey to go through. And then, of course, you could be on a spiritual journey, which again could be one that lasts a lifetime, and it generally is one that lasts a lifetime, right? We're born knowing that we are an infinite being, knowing that we are spiritual beings having a human experience in our bodies for a short time, and then somehow we forget, and then people maybe start dying in our lives, and we suddenly realize our life will end, and then we finally get to that point again where we remember that our lives will not actually end. They will feel like they're going to end in this body, but our spirit lives on and continues to live on. And so that spiritual existential crisis that one can go through could be a journey, and it's certainly one that I've been on. One could call it the search for enlightenment, the search for self-actualization if you're looking at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, or just it could be religion or faith for you, whatever it means to you. Then you could have a career hero's journey, which would be your leadership journey, perhaps going up the ladder in your career, maybe reaching a glass ceiling and having to break through that glass ceiling. Or it could be pursuing a passion where you actually are creating your own business around your own passions, or maybe it's a hobby, not a business, and then your hobby turns into a business at some stage. And then it could be that you have been made redundant and having to start your own business, or having to find a new job, or resigning or retiring from a job. You might have gone through some kind of burnout, and that's where my story starts. I went through a burnout in my own career, and so I would place this in the career phase and the health phase. In the business side, I started out in an advertising agency, realized it was crazy. I mean, I was like 17 when I left school, and I did a copy test, became a junior copywriter in an ad agency, was working crazy hours, especially when we had deadlines that we had to meet. And it was absolutely crazy. And so I got out of that, and I started studying massage techniques, which felt much more in line with who I really was. And I became a massage therapist, got a job for a short time in a small town, again, outside of Cape Town, 2 hours drive, a little place called Montague. I worked at this beautiful little resort, and it was absolutely stunning, but too quiet for me. So I had to take a second job as a manageress of a restaurant, and then I created my own business. And for 10 years in my 20s, other than a bit of travel here and there, I created a massage practice that was so successful and so exciting that I actually burnt out as a massage therapist. And that burnout was kind of a career failure, my first career failure in a sense, and yet it was also my first career success. But it was also a serious health breakdown. In my early 20s already, I had a little bout with cancer. I had cervical cancer, stage CIN3 cells, which is the stage just before actual cancer. And so they had to do what's called a LETS, which is to remove those cells so that I didn't die by 30. The gynae basically said to me, you will be dead by 30 if you do not remove these cells. And that was quite a wake-up call. And that's probably why I went on and lived my passion in my 20s. But then I just overdid it. I clearly overdid. I had too many clients, and I didn't know how to say no, and I didn't know how to set my boundaries. And so I went through this burnout experience, and the burnout to me looked like debilitating migraines where I couldn't, I was vomiting, and I had to close all the curtains and, be in complete silence and have absolutely no sensory anything anywhere near me when I had a migraine. And I would ask, I'd call my parents, and my dad would arrive with these Schedule 5 tranquilizing drugs to kind of, get me out of this. It was horrendous. It was absolutely horrendous. I also had sciatica in my lower back, and I was a massage therapist, and my speciality was treating lower back and sciatica, or it became treating lower back and sciatica through this process of me getting this terrible sciatica, waking up at night, you know, with the pain and the aching in the legs, and feeling, you know, I'm in my 20s, guys. I'm so young, and yet I was feeling so ill all the time. I was depressed. I'm a really happy person generally. I have a lot of joy, and I went through this terrible depression. I remember going on a trip one day with my partner at the time, and we went traveling down the garden route, my favorite place in South Africa. And I remember on the way back, this distinct moment where we were on our way back from the trip, and I just broke down in tears for about 200 kilometers of the trip. I just was crying and crying. I said, I cannot go home. I cannot face my real life. I cannot go back to the job I'm doing. I can't do it. And I forced us to stop for an extra night or two, just to get over this, you know, feeling of I can't go back. I can't do this anymore. My body can't handle it. I am exhausted. I'm breaking down. I am burning out. It is too much for me. And I think that was the final turning point. I'd gone through a major a learning curve during this time, learning how my body works and what my body needed. I tried different, you know, 21-day liquid fasts, and I had changed my diet tremendously, and I had been to kinesiologists and naturopaths and homeopaths, and I was going for shiatsu, and I was going for massage, and I'd studied all different types of techniques in massage. And then finally I found this little product called Cell Food, I don't have it in my hand right now. I've got one downstairs. I should have had one here to show you, but it's a tiny little bottle of colloidal liquid that actually feeds your body all of the minerals that you need, all of the amino acids that you need. It splits water molecules with something called deuterium sulfate to create oxygen at the cellular level. So it's the amino acids, the minerals. Oh, and it has digestive enzymes as well, which helped me with my IBS that I was going through at the time as well, irritable bowel syndrome. And that little product, that little nutritional supplement completely changed my life, because I went through 2 weeks of headaches, but after that, my migraines were gone forever. My lower back pain was gone. My irritable bowel syndrome was gone. And I actually changed career because I became a trainer and consultant for Oxygen for Life, the company that had that product. And that launched my new career into nutritional supplements. And I moved into a whole different career where I then moved into other nutritional supplements and became head of network marketing for a company. And that then led to the leadership part of my career, where I just moved up and up and up and up, and traveled the world with this company, and all kinds of amazing things happened. But then again, something struck and the company closed down. And so I experienced my second major loss in my life in terms of career. And it made me realize I am never going to trust a company again, and I'm going to go back and work for myself. And that catapulted me back into working for me again. And yeah, so many things have happened in my life, and each of them is their own journey. And as you can see, some of them overlap. So if we look at these, you've got your personal ones that can happen, and it can overlap with your career, and it can overlap with your health journey. Maybe you are going through tremendous stress right now in your health journey, and you need a way to turn it around. And maybe I have some answers for you, having looked through so many and worked through so many different answers myself. Maybe you're going through that extreme exhaustion that I felt when I was burning out, and you want to find your joy and purpose and energy levels again. And maybe that is something I can help you with, or maybe that is something I can just point you in the right direction to. And maybe it is a breakdown in terms of you may have some kind of dread disease, you may have diabetes, you may have heart disease, you may have cancer, you may be going through a really, really difficult time as your body is breaking down, or going through some form of mental breakdown. And yes, perhaps that is something I can help you with. But again, let me put a medical disclaimer here that I'm not a medical doctor. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a psychiatrist. I am here to lead you, coach you, mentor you through these things into another way, but please work with a doctor if you are also needing that. Maybe it's a recovery journey. Perhaps there is something you want to give up. You are on the road to recovering from alcoholism or some kind of other addiction. Maybe it's the work addiction, and maybe it is drugs. Maybe it is not drugs as you see them, but medication that you're on that you're wanting to take yourself off. And maybe you're just going through the aging process, that midlife crisis and three-quarter life crisis, and maybe you're facing death and what it takes, to realize the acceptance of the life ending. There are so many different things you could possibly be going through in your life that a transformation life coach and energy healer can help you with. And so I would love to be your guide, and we'll get into that as we go into the hero's journey. It could be your relationships. You may have gone through a terrible childhood. I was one of those people who was really, really fortunate that very little difficulties came up in my childhood. There were a couple of little things that happened, like in my teenage years. I was molested by a family member. That was something that I had to go through. And it was probably another hero's journey that we could talk about, some sort of childhood abuse. There could be verbal abuse, there could be physical abuse, there could be even sexual abuse, as I went through. That could happen. Maybe it's not something that happened in childhood. Maybe you've worked through all your childhood things, but you're having issues with your spouse, with your partner, with the person that you love the most in this world, or it could be your child. Maybe you're going through parenting issues. Maybe you're going through a divorce, or maybe even the loss of a partner, a parent, a child, a loved one, a best friend. And all of these things could be a hero's journey or a Shero's journey that you may be going through. And I would love to be there for you as you go through these. So let's move on to the next slide, and we're going to talk about the 12 stages of the hero's journey and how these fit into what I call my 3 phases, which is the hey, the shoo, and the wow. Okay, so let's have a look at that in that perspective. So you might have been wondering, what has this got to do with Hey Shoo WOW? I don't know what this woman is talking about, and I don't know how the Shero's journey or hero's journey can fit into Hey Shoo WOW. So let me teach you the way I see it. So hey is your awakening. This is the universe or your creator, the divine, the God, or however you want to see it, your higher power, your higher intuition, letting you know that your ordinary life, what you're going through now, where everything was hunky-dory, there is a stirring of dissatisfaction and a call to a new adventure. So you're in your comfort zone. So it starts out the hero's journey or hero's journey that you're in your comfort zone, you're in your ordinary life, everything is going great, and then you feel the first little stirring of dissatisfaction. You feel some kind of call. Maybe you feel multiple calls, and it takes a few years of multiple calls before you actually listen, but you get a call to adventure. Initially, you may refuse the call, but that hey keeps coming at you. The awakening is there, and you are being asked to this adventure. And this may be the point where you meet the guide. Maybe I am the guide for you. Maybe I am the mentor. Maybe not. Maybe you've already met the guide for your awakening in this particular hero's journey or Shero's journey that you might be on. And you meet the guide and you move into the next phase, which is adventure. So the show is the messy part. One of my clients, when we went through this work together, we called it the messy part. Generally, when I start working with a coaching client one-on-one, the first thing I like to do with them is the hero's journey or Shero's journey, because it gives me a really good gauge as to where a client is right now. And that's why I'm starting with this with you right now as well in our awakening journey, because it is a really great way for me to ask you a few brilliant coaching questions that can help me see where you are and also help you see where you are and see yourself as the hero or Shero that you are. So in your adventure, you are going to make a decision. You're going to cross the threshold. And once you make that decision, sometimes it's the mentor that pushes you to make that decision and gets you out of that uncomfortable comfort zone that you might be in and makes you make that decision or helps you make that decision. Or sometimes it is something that happens. For example, somebody might have a heart attack, and that leads them into a health journey where they start to look for the lifestyle changes that they weren't prepared to look at before. Or they get the diagnosis of type 2 diabetes, which is a lifestyle disease, not something they're born with, but something that is to do with how they're eating, how they're exercising or not exercising, how they're living, and they can start looking at those lifestyle changes they could make. That could be crossing the threshold on health or healing journey side. If it's a business side, it could be a complete collapse of a business, like I had, or complete collapse of my body, my burnout, that I didn't want to do business anymore in that way. So in the first time I had this collapse of business, it was me collapsing. The second time in my 30s, it wasn't me that collapsed. It was the actual business itself that collapsed by forces that were outside of my control. And yet I felt it, and it took me years and years and years to overcome the guilt and shame of being a leader in a company that actually closed down. And there was so much that I had to work through in that hero's journey. And then once you cross this threshold, whatever it is that you're going through, whether it's health, wealth, or relationships, whether it's looking at relationships, it might be the divorce. In my 20s, no, not my 20s, in my 30s, I actually went through 2 divorces as well. And so the relationships are something I have worked through. It took me 2 failed marriages to get to meet the person that I would marry and have my beautiful child with, and also have his beautiful child that also helped raise. It was, yes, incredible to go through all of that. And I also had 2 miscarriages before I had my child. So those are 2 other journeys that I went on. One to do with the relationships that I went through, and it was not just the divorces, but many relationships after that, before I met this beautiful man of mine, who has supported me so beautifully as a husband and a partner and a father to the children. It's been amazing. But there was those journeys that I've also been through, and that you may have been through. And crossing the threshold is when you have that thing that happens that propels you out of your uncomfortable comfort zone, where you're having those stirrings of dissatisfaction, into the road of trials, the difficult place that you're going to catapult yourself into, where you are now going to face all of the tests you have to face, and meet the allies and meet the enemies, and going through the dangers and the challenges, the adventure that will take you to where you really want to go, to the real dreams and desires that you have. And then you will go into what's called the innermost cave, that deepest part of you, where you will experience yourself in a different level and face that final ordeal. And until you have faced that, well, not the final ordeal, but face the climax of your adventure, before you can go into the transformation and reward. And that's when we go into the wow. So we have the hey, which is the universe getting your attention in whichever way it does. The shoo, which is your adventure time, where you are going through all of the action and the heat of the action. And then your wow, where you now actualize, integrate, assimilate everything that you've learned. So you start off with getting your transformation and reward from everything that you have done and gone through and conquered, all your fears or your challenges. And then you take the road back and decide to take the road back. And you go through rebirth, which is this time the final life and death adventure that you're going to go through, the final countdown, if you want to call it, before you can return with the elixir, return with everything that you learned through the battle. So where are you on your hero's journey? Looking at those things, let's take you through them again, and you can start to identify which hero's journey you're on at the moment, or Shero's journey you're on at the moment, and then where you are on that journey. And when you finish this presentation, or you may want to jot it down on a piece of paper now, write down for me in the comments section which hero's journey you're on, whether it is to do with your personal life, whether it's to do with your health, your business, your relationships, which hero's journey you're on at the moment, and where you feel you are at on your hero's journey. So let's go through the stages one by one so you can get a clearer idea of where you are. So stage one is your ordinary life. There you are, you're happily just doing your ordinary things and you're enjoying them, but you are starting to feel the first stirrings of dissatisfaction. So there's a part of you in your ordinary life doing your everyday things where you're feeling a little bit of discomfort, but it's not enough discomfort for you to feel the call just yet. But when that discomfort starts to get bigger, you go to stage two, where you get this call to adventure. You start hearing voices in your head saying, I deserve more than this. I want to do more than this. I came for greater things than this. I have a purpose that is greater than this. And you're feeling a call to do something different. So what are you, or were you feeling called to do when you set out on this particular hero's journey that you have started? Maybe you're right at the beginning. Maybe you're just feeling those stirrings of dissatisfaction and you're feeling called to do something and you're right at the beginning of this. And just write down for me in the comment section what you were feeling called to do. And if you have a piece of paper now, workshop this for yourself and write it down. I will also give you a link below to this to these slides so that you can go through them afterwards if I'm going too quickly in the presentation. So you can take the slides and just answer these questions for yourself just to get a clear idea of where you're at. What happens after you feel the call for adventure? You refuse the call. So most of us have some sort of resistance that comes up, some fears that come up, and we say, no ways, I'm standing on the precipice of about to make these changes, but I am too scared to make these changes. And that is when you might need something to force you into action. That something could be the guide or mentor. So it might be a book you read. It might be a YouTube video you watch. It might be this very presentation that you're watching right now. And it might be actually finding an actual guide and mentor. But there will come a time when you will find a guide and think about now and answer this question for yourself. Who have been your guides in your life in maybe adventures that you've already gone on, hero's journeys that you've already had, or who would you like to be your guide right now? Maybe it's a very particular journey and you know instantly right now that there's a course that you need to do or a program that you need to do that you've been thinking of for a while that you know will lead you to the next step, and that is going to be your guide. Or maybe it's a book that you've been wanting to read, or a TED talk that you have watched that has propelled you. Whatever it is, there is a time where you find that mentor and guide and you decide to cross the threshold, because stage 5 is about making that decision. The decision point is where you cut from that past life, the life that you were having, that comfort zone that may have been an uncomfortable comfort zone and may have gotten more and more uncomfortable, and you now choose to cross the threshold and make that decision to move forward on this journey. So now you have decided, I'm going to take the hero's journey. We're at the shoot part, we're at the adventure part, and you are going into your hero's journey, and you're going to go on the road of trials, which is going to get tricky. You're going to have tests, you're going to meet some allies, but you're also going to face some enemies. And this is where the work really, really starts. And when I talk about work, what I want you to understand is I'm showing you pictures, and the hero's journey is often depicted in movies, in myths, in legends, in stories that have been passed down through the centuries as actual physical things that happen. But all of this could be literally happening internally. It could be an emotional, spiritual, mental journey that we're talking about, not necessarily you going out on an actual journey, traveling like I spoke about so passionately earlier on. It may have nothing to do with you actually doing anything out in your physical world. It more has everything to do with what is happening in your internal world. So what obstacles or challenges have you faced or are you facing? They may be actual literal obstacles and challenges, but they always boil down to internal challenges. The hero's journey might look like it is, if you think of the book called The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho, for example, or you think of any of your favorite books or movies and you look at how the hero's gone on some kind of journey and gone through all of these stages and phases, and it may look like Harry Potter, and fighting and, slaying, and there might be, it could be The Hobbit, it could be any of these things that you could see out there, but it's also an internal journey. And actually that's if you remember from watching my first video about as within, so without, we're always talking really about the inner journey. Everything that happens in our life is actually what's going on inside ourselves. So think about these obstacles and challenges that you faced or are facing, not just in terms of the outer ones, but as the internal ones. What do they represent for you internally? And then we get to stage 7, the approach to the innermost cave. And that is where this really comes home to you. What is the one big challenge that you still have to face? What is the wall you still have to break down? What is the mountain you still have to climb? And I'm talking about that internal battle that you might need to face. Like if we go through my own hero's journeys and we look at the journey of burnout, the healing journey, I sought outside myself very many different people who could help me, but at the end of the day, I had to make the changes inside myself as well. I had to learn. Let me give you an example of that. So, yes, at the time when I was going through those migraines, I found a wonderful product that helped me and worked, that I was able to work with. But I also had to make a decision to stop what I was doing, stop carrying a portable massage bench around to my clients every day and stop massaging clients every day, because that was making my back go out on a daily basis and sending me back into the problem zone. I had to make a decision that changed my life, that turned me away from a business that I loved, that I adored, that I was passionate about, so that I could open to another business that got me into a greater to work with many more people that I was working with before, because I was head of network marketing and there were thousands of people that I was now working with, as well as the people that I was personally mentoring, hiring and mentoring them to work with me as a team, to work with all of those people together. So my leadership had to grow. I had to grow as a person, and that was an internal thing. And also, if you look at me choosing that product back in those days, if you look now at how I've progressed in my life on a spiritual journey, when I get a migraine now or any kind of headache, I do not take a product anymore for that. What I do is I do a hypnosis meditation and I go deep inside myself, or I go and I do a yoga class. And there's a wonderful technique I learned for migraine and headache, where you close the one part of your nose and you breathe in and out from the one nostril and then in and out from another nostril. Very simple thing that can actually help you get over headache and migraine. And these are things that I had to do for myself that have got nothing to do with something in the external world. I learned them from someone. I had a guide or mentor teaching me, but I had to do the work to find another way of working with my body. I had to do the work of going plant-based and feeding my body the best nutrition, avoiding the processed foods and eating all the beautiful fruits and vegetables and beans and legumes and things that filled my body with goodness. So those were things I had to do for myself. So what is the one big challenge you still have to face on your hero's journey? And not just looking at the outside, but looking at the inside as well. And then we get to stage 8, the ordeal or the ultimate test, but it is not the final test, mind you. But this is when you're in a movie, you're watching a movie, and this is the climax of the movie, the peak of the action, when everything is going wild, the music is like at a crescendo, it is loud and blasting, and they're going through their maybe almost face death. That reminds me of when I was pregnant and going through the birthing experience, going through labor, and it takes you, when you do what I did, which was the ridiculous thing, where I had natural labor induced with no painkillers, and it was absolute, like, really takes you so close to that feeling of death, and you almost want to die. It's so painful, but then what comes out? You birth this amazing baby. It's like the phoenix rising through the flames. What is the death you will face in yourself to open up to the new thing? In my one journey, it was the death of the one business so that I could move into the idea of having a different kind of business. I didn't know what was going to be out there for me. I didn't know that I was going to go into a completely new business. I just knew that I had to stop doing what I was doing then because it was not good for me. It was once was something that I absolutely loved and was passionate about, and now it was at the point of harming me. And sometimes when we just love something, like when it's your business, you can love it so much that you can love it to death. And you can get to that point where the business takes over your life and you are no longer enjoying it anymore. But it can take you a few years to realize that you are no longer enjoying your business anymore. And that's what happened to me. It took me a while to realize that I was no longer happy and I needed to move back into my happy phase, whatever that looked like. But to do that, I had to face the death of something. And that is how I got to my transformation and reward. The only time you're going to transform is when you are going to end something and start something new. And I was told once when I saw an astrologer many, many years ago that my life was going to be about endings and beginnings. And I think sometimes I wonder, I think that all of us, our lives are about endings and beginnings. We don't just go on one smooth thing. It's not just me that's going through this. We all have to face the end of something to get to the beginning of something new. Maybe it's the end of a relationship. Maybe it's the end of overeating. Maybe it's the end of abusing alcohol. Maybe it's the end of being a workaholic. Maybe it's the end of over exercising. Maybe it's the end of feeling like you're an unworthy, useless person and discovering that you're actually this beautiful, infinite, wonderful, glorious being. And what does this transformation look like for you? Because the transformation can look different depending on what journey you're going through. And those are just examples that I'm throwing out there. Yours might be completely different to any of the examples I've mentioned today, which is why I would love you to put in the comments what heroes or Shero's journey you are going through right now, and what is going to make it all worth it at the end. If you are going to go through the trials, the tests, the meet the enemies, face the enemies, what will make it worth it for you? If you're going to go through that ultimate test, what do you want to bring back? What reward do you want to have at the end of it? Maybe it's millions of dollars in your bank account. Maybe it is a life of peace and joy. Maybe it's a beautiful house you wanted to move into and you've been wanting to move into for ages. Maybe it is a beautiful baby that you would love to birth and become a mother or a father and see yourself as a completely different person. Maybe it's a new identity that you want to have and move into, whatever it is. You are going to get that transformation and reward, and then you are going to choose to take the road back, because this journey is not over yet. You are going to return home, whatever home means to you. And as you return home, you are going to get to the rebirth of yourself, the resurrection of yourself. And you are going to become a brand new person with a brand new identity. And to do that, you will have one final test ordeal that you will need to face. So what is that final test ordeal that you need to face? Sometimes it is going and telling the people you love what you have been through, and sometimes those people leave you because of you have changed so much and maybe they have not changed at the same time. Sometimes it is that. Sometimes it is the death of someone in your life, or sometimes it is a final, another heart attack or health issue or something that you have to work through. Maybe it is a client leaving your business that represented the biggest portion of your business, the 80% that was bringing in all the business to you, and you now have to go and find a new client, and you have to really dig deep and find within yourself all of that energy again that you had right at the beginning of your journey, to go and do it all over again. Maybe it is that your wealth has collapsed, as has happened with many millionaires who have created their fortunes and then lost their fortunes and then recreated their fortunes again. Whatever it may be, whether it is health, wealth, business, personal, maybe it is a spiritual battle that you might be facing, where there is one last person that you need to forgive, that you have struggled to forgive your whole life. And that is the final test that you need before you can face your rebirth. Whatever it may be, you will now get to return with the elixir if you face that final ordeal, and you'll be able to come back with the rewards that you collected on your journey. So what is that elixir going to be that you bring back from your journey? What is the gold or the magic potion or the magic in you that you have discovered as you have dug really deep, as you have faced your fears, as you have faced your enemies, as you have gone through all those tests and trials and found all your allies and mentors along the way, and found yourself? What are you bringing back for you, and how are you going to pay it forward? How are you going to give back to the world of your gifts, of your learnings? Are you going to go and do your own TEDx talk? Are you going to write your own book, your own memoirs? And are you going to leave a legacy? And maybe perhaps you're going to create a course. Maybe you're going to even create a community on school, like I've done, where you have members that you can take through whatever it is, this hero's journey that you've been on. And maybe you want to share that with the world. Who knows how you want to share it with the world? Maybe you're going to set up a YouTube channel and monetize your YouTube channel and, share it with millions of people that way. It could be any way. Maybe you're going to start an NGO or nonprofit, or you're going to just on a daily basis reach out to people with random acts of kindness, because you have found the self-compassion inside yourself, and you are now a more compassionate, loving, kind being. Whatever it is, there is going to be a way that you will pay forward what you learned. And it might be simply just by being you out in the world, this greater version, this highest version of you, by finding this amazing, beautiful self that was always there, remembering who you really are and being that infinite being. So let me know, where are you in your hero's or Shero's journey right now? And are you at that point where you're ready to give back, or are you right at the beginning? Are you somewhere in the middle? Are you in the messy part? Are you in, hey, just accepting your calling? Are you in, shoo, going on that adventure, somewhere in the middle of adventure? Or are you already in wow, getting your transformations and rewards, returning home with the elixir and feeling absolutely brilliant? And now that you know all the stages, what is the next step for you? What is the next step that you feel you need to take? And would you need the help of a guide or mentor? Perhaps I am the right person for you. I'm a transformation coach. I'm an energy healer, and I love to work with especially women who are going through a Shero's journey. And we're going to do it in a light way here in the free group, but I will be creating a paid group in the next few days, hopefully maybe a couple of weeks, where I will be able to work with you on a much more personal level. Working with you in this way. I'll be doing presentations, I'll be putting up posts, and I'll be chatting with you in the group. But in the paid group, we are able to do Zoom calls with each other where you can get actual live access to me and ask your questions about your personal journey. So I really look forward to working with you all. Thank you so much for your time. It's been wonderful to meet you, and I can't wait to read your comments below and to see how your hero's journey is going and to hear where you're at. So once again, the questions I'm asking you at the end of this presentation is, what hero's journey are you on right now? Let me know whether it is a personal one, a business one, or to do with wealth creation, whether it is to do with your health, whether it is to do with your spirit, whether it is to do with your relationships. And do you have a mentor yet? And where do you feel you are? Which stage are you on your journey? So that we can start working together. Okay, lovely to meet you all, and thank you for your time. Lots of